That's okay. You can put the when you do daily worship, when you're touching the rails, you should be like no touch the rail anywhere. Just from very straight to the. Yeah, I do. Okay. No, it's much tighter than they do it. No, I do it every day. Adi Purush, right? Adi Krishna, good morning. Puja, वो प्रेस मिला कपड़ा अपना? हाँ मिल गया ना, आपने क्या था ना? Yes. नहीं मतलब मैंने एक वक्त को कहा था पर दो पेयर अभी बचा होगा. हाँ ये नहीं है. आप आते हैं ना, अभी पूजा चल रही है कुमार से. अब यहाँ पे क्लीन कर दें मतलब. हाँ चल दो. one chair here.
थोड़ा कोसा रखना है
No, of course. Chair ले लीजिए. Oh, you know what?
you can take this
No. You have this one. This is more deep, right? I'll just take this. थोड़ा पानी से थोड़ा. No, bring in this, put in this. You're here. I was waiting for you.
Oh,
कितने बजे हुआ?
4:30 उठ गए थे हम तो हम
3:30?
नहीं 4:30 उठे थे
अच्छा.
लेट में चलते हैं आज
कब शुरू हुई? ट्रेन कब से लीजिए? ट्रेन में कब से लीजिए?
पानी देना है
वाले बढ़ाइए वो. Okay. ये साफ कर दीजिए. हाँ ये चार दीजिए. So just leave that. There is Professor Sir Maharaj. Take it out. And there is a bead there. You know? And the old one goes in the back. This is new one. The moment you saw someone, you can say, can you see that I'm, you know, we'll be ready for tomorrow.
इसको बिना नहीं होता है
You need a big towel for that. You know, take a small one because you are running low of big ones. There is a small baby towel over there also. नीचे पड़ा है. Last two. Yes, that's good. Where is it? You keep this for room, you know. You are running low now. मशीन देवी कराएंगे तो यहाँ पर देना पड़ेगा साथ साथ के उधर जो दोनों के
सीजर्स दिखेगा आपने निकल फुल
हाँ
रखी
वो ब्लैक बैग में बैग में से नए कपड़े दिखाना है दिस बैग ये तो नहीं है It would have seemed like this, like same like this color. Green don't green we already use it many times.
ये वाला करना है रेड
नहीं एकादशी का ये Every month more like this. Like this thing like this. Throw it in this. Oh, okay. मैं क्या क्यों कर रहा हूँ There should be one ziploc back room from there.
yeah here
Take this old. Take everything in the old. Put in that old.
इसमें लो पड़ेगा
Yeah, so निकाल लो. Oh no, there's one open zip bag. Like clean zip bag. Clean.
चाय
नॉर्मल पानी डाल सकते हैं।
नहीं वो जो
वो पीजी वाला है।
ज्वेलरी के साथ में डालना चाहिए। क्या हुआ?
यहाँ पर पीजी वाला खत्म हो
जो मत होंगे होगा वो बाहर निकल जब वो बाहर निकल तो लेके आएंगे।
वेट किसके लिए चाहिए? लेडीज के लिए ना?
हाँ तो ये साफ हो गया ना इधर में ये नीचे से साफ हो गया
नीचे से
टेबल नीचे से करना है। ये तो फ्लावर is it should be taken away, no? Is clean, no? I'm just putting this. I'm keeping you this position for
न्यू तुलसी
कोई नहीं तुलसी महारानी आई कि नहीं न्यू तुलसी महारानी can you take like 30-40 leaves from this the big one 40 leaves of this yeah they're clean वो घंटा बाथरूम पे I got new one. person is coming. Washing hands. नई क्लासेस पढ़ रहे कोई मैच करेंगे this dress you know different dress this was the
you need to go to the temple, it's there. Like do a puja or whatever. Water. Indo. Go back to that Indo.
What time did you get up?
I just came out.
5:41.
I'm sure you'll be excellent today. Hey, what is that?
Fresh water.
Yes, 7:30 is allowed.
Srinagar till at 7:30.
Hmm.
Yes. Srinagar till at 7:30.
At 7:30. I'm cooking this morning. I'll show you that. I can use my car. And I just want to put the keys on the hook. I don't think you'll need it, but just in case. And I'm gonna go cook this one. And then one of those, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Yes. All right. Should I read some? Sansaradavanalilaloka Lalaya Karunyaganatam Tasya Kalyana Guranavasya Vande Guru Shri Charalinam Mahaprabhu Kirtananitayika आदित्रमाद्यान् मनसोदर्शेन रोमाञ्चकं सुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनादा शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादौ युक्तस्य पादां संयुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं चतुर्विहाश्री भगवत्प्रसाद पादनतीर्थान् हरिभक्तसन्नयं कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजतः सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीराधिका माधवयवरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां प्रतीक्षणासाधनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं निकुञ्जयोनोरतिकेलिशिरोये यायालिवीर्योऽपिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदासादपि वल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं साक्षात् हरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा वाग्देव सद्वि इन्दो प्रभूयाव्ययैव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् नगति कुतोऽपि ध्यायास्तु तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसति गौरा भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादनायिने हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शीलतं दानकालाय इतो न सिंहा भरतो न सिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो न सिंहा बाह्येन सिंहा हृदयेन सिंहा नरसिंहामदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलबलेन काम् अद्भुतसिंहा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपूर्तनुवृन्दा केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrsimhadev 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 Jaya Nrsimhadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Tulasi Vrindai Tusadevya Piyai Kesavasya Krishna Bhakti Vraj Devi Satyatvayai Namo Namaha
Vrinday Tushni Jai Kesava Sacha Krishna Bhakti Satydevi Satyajai Namo Namaha Vrinday Tushni Jai Kesava Sacha Krishna Bhakti Satydevi Satyajai Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Radha Krishna Seva Bhavo Heya Vilasi Ye Tumhara Sharan Lord Tara Vansha Purna Hoy Kripa Kare Karo Tare Vrindavana Mor Jaya Vilas Vilas Kunjariyo Has Nayane Osara Yugala Parasi Nivedana Dhara Sakhi Anugata Koro Sevayadhikaro Diye Koro Nijadasi Dina Krishna Dase Koe Namura Hai Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Bhasi Kani Chapa Pani Brahma Jadi Kani Cha Aidani Pranay Santi Pradakshina Pade Pade Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinde Jaya Vrinde Jaya Vrinde Jaya Shri Vrinde Vrindai Tulsi Devi Jaya Kesava Sacha Krishna Bhakti Vraj Devi Satyajai Namo Namaha
Vrinday Tushdevi Jai Kesava Sacha Krishna Bhakti Satydevi Satyajai Namo Namaha Vrinday Tushni Jai
Read.
Yes.
Read for Balaram.
Yes.
Read. Krishna Bol.
Krishna.
Yeah, look.
for Lila, to read that one or the Yamuna pastime or whichever one. Huh? Lama Sura? She's very good for that. Chapter 18, the killing the demon Pralambasura. After extinguishing the devastating fire, Krishna, surrounded by his relatives, friends, cows, calves, and bulls, and glorified by his friends singing, again entered Vrindavan, which is always full of cows. While Krishna and Balaram were enjoying life in Vrindavan in the midst of cowherd boys and girls, the season gradually changed to summer. The summer season in India is not very much welcome because of the excessive heat. But in Vrindavan, everyone was pleased because summer there appeared just like spring. This was possible only because Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are the controllers, even of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, were residing there. In Vrindavan, there are many falls which are always pouring water, and the sound is so sweet that it covers the sound of the crickets. And because water flows all over, the forest always looks very green and beautiful. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were never disturbed by the scorching heat of the sun or the high summer temperatures. The lakes of Vrindavan are surrounded by green grasses, and various kinds of lotus flowers bloom there, such as the Kalara, Kanja, and Utpala, and the air blowing in Vrindavan carries the aromatic pollen of those lotus flowers. When the particles of water from the waves of the Yamuna, the lakes and waterfalls, touched the bodies of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they automatically felt a cooling effect. Therefore, they were practically undisturbed by the summer season. Vrindavan is such a nice place. Flowers are always blooming, and there are even various kinds of decorated deer. Birds are chirping, peacocks are crowing and dancing, and bees are humming. The cuckoos there sing nicely in 5 kinds of tunes. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, blowing his flute, accompanied by his elder brother Balaram and other cowherd boys and cows, entered the beautiful forest of Vrindavan to enjoy the atmosphere. They walked into the midst of newly grown leaves of trees, whose flowers resembled peacock feathers. They were garlanded by those flowers and decorated with saffron chalk. Sometimes they were dancing and singing, and sometimes wrestling with one another. While Krishna danced, some of the cowherd boys sang and others played on flutes. Some bugled on buffalo horns or clapped their hands, praising Krishna. Dear brother, you are dancing very nicely. Actually, all these boys were demigods descended from the higher planets to assist Krishna in his pastimes. The demigods, garbed in the dress of the cowherd boys, were encouraging Krishna in his dancing, just as one artist encourages another with praise. Up to that time, neither Balaram nor Krishna had undergone the hair-cutting ceremony. Therefore, their hair was clustered like crow's feathers. They were always playing hide-and-seek with their boyfriends, or jumping or fighting with them. Sometimes, while his friends were chanting and dancing, Krishna would praise them. My dear friends, you are dancing and singing very nicely. The boys played at catching ball with flutes, such as Bail and Amalaka. They played blind man's bluff, challenging and touching one another. Sometimes they imitated the forest deer and various kinds of birds. They joked with one another by imitating croaking frogs, and they enjoyed swinging underneath the tree. Sometimes they would play amongst themselves like a king and his subjects. In this way, Balaram and Krishna along with their friends, played all kinds of sports and enjoyed the soothing atmosphere of Vrindavan, full of rivers, lakes, rivulets, fine trees, and excellent gardens filled with fruits and flowers. Once, while the boys were engaged in their transcendental pastimes, a great demon of the name Pralambasur entered their company, desiring to kidnap both Balaram and Krishna. Although Krishna was playing the part of a coward boy, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could understand everything, past, present, and future. So when Pralambasur entered their company, Krishna began to think how to kill the demon, but externally he received him as a friend. "Oh, my dear friend," he said, "it is very good that you have come to take part in our pastimes." Krishna then called all his friends and ordered them, "Now we shall play in pairs. We shall challenge one another in pairs." With this proposal, all the boys assembled together. Some of them took the side of Krishna, and some of them took the side of Balaram, and they arranged to play in duel. The defeated members in duel fighting had to carry the victorious members on their back, as a horse carries its master. They began playing, and at that time tended the cows as they proceeded through the Bhandirvan forest. The party of Balaram, accompanied by Sridham and Rishabha, came out victorious, and Krishna's party had to carry them on their backs through the Bhandirvan forest. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being defeated, had to carry Sridham on his back, and Bhadrasena carried Rishabha. Imitating their play, Pralambasura, who appeared there as a coward boy, carried Balaram on his back. Pralambasura was the greatest of the demons, and he had calculated that Krishna was the most powerful of the coward boys. In order to avoid the company of Krishna, Pralambasura carried Balaram far away. The demon was undoubtedly very strong and powerful, but he was carrying Balaram, who was compared to a mountain. Therefore he began to feel the burden, and thus he assumed his real form. When he appeared in his real form, he was decorated with a golden helmet and earrings, and looked just like a cloud with lightning carrying the moon. Balaram observed the demon's body expanding up to the limits of the clouds, his eyes dazzling like blazing fire, and his mouth flashing with sharpened teeth. At first, Balaram was surprised by the demon's appearance, and he began to wonder, how is it that all of a sudden this carrier has changed in every way? But with a clear mind, he could quickly understand that he was being carried away from his friends by a demon who intended to kill him. Immediately, he struck the tail of the demon with his strong fist, just as the king of the heavenly planets strikes a mountain with his thunderbolt. Stricken by the fist of Balaram, the demon fell down, dead, just like a snake, with a smashed head, and blood poured from his mouth. When the demon fell, he made a tremendous sound, and it sounded as if a great hill were falling upon, being struck by the thunderbolt of King Indra. All the boys then rushed to the spot. Astonished by the ghastly scene, they began to praise Balaram with the words, "Well done, well done." All of them then embraced Balaram with great affection, thinking that he had returned from death, and they offered him their blessings and congratulations. All the demigods of the heavenly planets became very satisfied and showered flowers on the transcendental body of Balaram, and they also offered their blessings and congratulations for his having killed the great demon Pralambasura. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 18th chapter of Krishna, killing the demon Pralambasura. Chapter 67, Deliverance of Drivira Gorilla. While Shukadeva Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic and wanted to hear further. Shukadeva Goswami next narrated the story of Vivida, the gorilla who was killed by Lord Balaram. This gorilla was a great friend of Bhaumasura or Narakasura, who who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvivida was the minister of King Sugriva. His brother Mainda was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvivida gorilla heard the story of his friend Bhaumasura's being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Bhaumasura. His first business was to set fires in villages, towns, and industrial and mining places, as well as in the residential quarters of the mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. Sometimes he would uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way, he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwar. The city of Dwarka was situated in this Katwar province, and because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvivida specifically made it his target of disturbance. Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. Sometimes he would go to the seashore, and with his powerful hands he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would flood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. Not only did he create disturbances in this way, but sometimes he would pass urine and stool on their sacred sacrificial arenas. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential places to the caves of the mountains. After putting them within the caves, he would close the entrances with large chunks of stone, like the bringa insect, which arrests and carries away many flies and other insects, and puts them within the holes of the trees where it lives. Thus Dvivida regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female members of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them. While creating such disturbances all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from Raivataka mountain, and so he entered the mountainous region. There he saw Lord Balaram in the midst of many beautiful young girls, enjoying their company while singing and dancing. Dvivida became captivated by the beauty of Lord Balaram's body, whose every feature was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of lotus flowers. Sometimes all the young girls present, dressed and garlanded with flowers, exhibited much beauty. Lord Balaram seemed fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage, and his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balaram appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants. This gorilla, by the name of Dvivida, could climb up into the trees and jump from one branch to another. Sometimes he would jerk the branches, creating a particular type of sound. Kila, 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 kila. So that Lord Balaram was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivida would come before the women and exhibit different types of caricatures. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking. And when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, but simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even in the presence of Balaram, he began to show the lower parts of his body to the women. And sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. He disrespected the women, even in the presence of Balaram. Lord Balaram's name suggests not only that he is very powerful, but that he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivida. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balaram, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivida, being thus intoxicated with his limited strength, began to tear off all the valuable clothes worn by Balaram and the accompanying young girls. He was so puffed up that he thought Balaram could not do anything to chastise it, and he continued to offend Balaramji and his companions. When Lord Balaram saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he had already performed many mischievous activities all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. Immediately he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balaram was going to attack him. To counterattack Balaram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force he came and struck Lord Balaram's head. Lord Balaram, however, immediately caught hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club named Sunandana and hit the gorilla with it, severely injuring his head. Currents of blood flowed from the gorilla's head with great force, but the streams of blood simply enhanced his beauty. Like a stream of liquid manganese coming out of a great mountain. The striking of Balaram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree and, after clipping off all its leaves, again struck Balaram's head with it. But Balaram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and struck Lord Balaram's body. Again, Lord Balaram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balaram, Lord Balaram would tear the tree to pieces by the striking of his club. And the gorilla Devida would catch another tree from another direction and again attack Balaram in the same way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Devida took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone, like rainfall, upon the body of Balaram. Lord Balaram, in a great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. The gorilla, being bereft of all trees and stone slabs, now stood before Balaram and waved his strong fists. Then, with great force, he began to beat Lord Balaram's chest with his fists. This time, Lord Balaram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, Lord Balaram would not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or the plow. Simply with his fists, he struck the collarbone of the gorilla. The blow proved fatal to Devida, who immediately vomited blood.
Okay.
Yes,
If it's not here for reading,
yes,
maybe you can read it.
yes.
Maybe that's more.
Yes. Yes.
This blow proved fatal to Devida, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious upon the ground. When the gorilla fell at the hills and the forest appeared to totter, after this horrible incident, all the siddhas, great sages, and saintly persons from the upper planetary system showered flowers on the person of Lord Balarama and vibrated sounds glorifying his supremacy. All of them chanted, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let us offer our respectful obeisances onto your lotus feet." By killing this great demon, Devida, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world. All such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great demon Devida and being worshipped by flowers, being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balram returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 67th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Devida Gorilla. The entire chapter 15, the killing of Denuka, the ass demon. Text 1.
This translation is.
Shukdev Goswami said, when Lord Rama and Lord Krishna attained the age of Auganda, 6 to 10, while living in Vrindavan, the cowherd men allowed them to take up the task of tending the cows, engaging thus in the company of their friends. The two boys rendered the land of Vrindavan most auspicious by imprinting upon it the marks of the lotus feet. Thus, desiring to enjoy pastimes, Lord Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories, and accompanied by Lord Baladeva, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavan forest, which was full of flowers and rich with nourishment for the animals. The Supreme Personality of Godhead looked
Maharaj is speaking to you. He's asking you, where are you staying? Maharaj is asking.
I'm saying Lenny.
Speak.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead looked over that forest, which resounded with the charming sounds of bees, animals, and birds, and which was enchanted by a lake whose clear water resembled the minds of great souls, and by a breeze carrying the fragrance of 100-petaled lotuses. Seeing all this, Lord Krishna decided to enjoy the auspicious atmosphere. The primeval Lord saw that the stately trees with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavy burden of fruit and flowers were bending down to touch his feet with the tips of their branches. Thus, he smiled gently and addressed his elder brother. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. O original personality, these bees must all be great sages and most elevated devotees of yours, for they are worshipping you by following you along the path and chanting your glories, which are themselves a holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself within this forest, O sinless one, they refuse to abandon you, their worshipable Lord. O worshipable one, these peacocks are dancing before you out of joy. These doe are pleasing you with affectionate glances, just as the gopis do. And these cuckoos are honoring you with Vedic prayers. All these residents of the forest are most fortunate, and their behavior towards you certainly befits great souls receiving another great soul at home. This earth has now become most fortunate because you have touched her grass and bushes with your feet, and her trees and creepers with your fingernails, and because you have grazed her rivers, mountains, birds, and animals with your merciful glances. But above all, you have embraced the young cowherd woman between your two arms a favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself. Shukdev Goswami said, thus expressing his satisfaction with the beautiful forest of Vrindavan and its inhabitants, Lord Krishna enjoyed tending the cows and other animals with his friends on the banks of the river Yamuna below Govardhan Hill. Sometimes the honeybees in Vrindavan became so mad with ecstasy that they closed their eyes and began to sing. Lord Krishna, moving along the forest path with his cowherd boyfriends and Baladeva, would then respond to the bees by imitating their singing while his friends sang about his pastimes. Sometimes Lord Krishna would imitate the chattering of a parrot, sometimes with a sweet voice, the call of a cuckoo, and sometimes the cooing of the swans. Sometimes he vigorously imitated the dancing of the peacock, making his cowherd boyfriends laugh. Sometimes with a voice as deep as the rumbling of clouds, he would call out with great affection the names of the animals who had wandered far from the herd, thus enchanting the cows and the cowherd boys. Sometimes he would cry out in imitation of birds such as chakoras, pranchas, chakravas, bhardwajas, and peacocks. And sometimes he would run away with the smaller animals in mock fear of lions and tigers. When his elder brother, fatigued from playing, would lie down with his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna would help him relax by personally massaging his feet and offering other services. Sometimes, as the cowherd boys danced, sang, moved about, and playfully fought with each other, Krishna and Balram, standing nearby, hand in hand, would glorify their friends' activities and laugh. Sometimes Lord Krishna grew tired from fighting and lay down at the base of a tree, resting upon a bed made of soft twigs and buds, and using the lap of a cowherd friend as his pillow. Some of the cowherd boys, who were all great souls, would then massage his lotus feet, and others, qualified by being free of all sin, would expertly fan the Supreme Lord. My dear King, other boys would sing enchanting songs appropriate to the occasion, and their hearts would melt out of love for the Lord. In this way, the Supreme Lord, whose soft lotus feet are personally attended by the goddess of fortune, concealed his transcendental opulences by his internal potency and acted like the son of a cowherd. Yet, even while enjoying like a village boy in the company of other village residents, he often exhibited feats only God could perform. Once, some of the cowherd boys, Sridham, the very close friend of Ram, and Krishna, along with Subal, spoke Krishna, and others lovingly spoke the following words. The cowherd boy said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, destroyer of the miscreants, Not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. In that Talwan forest, many fruits are falling from the trees, and many are already lying on the ground. But all the fruits are being guarded by the evil Dhenuka. O Rama, O Krishna, Dhenuka is a most powerful demon and has assumed the form of an ass. He is surrounded by many friends who have assumed a similar shape and who are just as powerful as he. The demon Dhenuka has eaten men alive, and therefore all people and animals are terrified of going to the Tal forest. O killer of the enemy, even the birds are afraid to fly there. In the Tal forest are sweet smelling fruits no one has ever tasted. Indeed, even now we can smell the fragrance of the Tal fruits spreading all about. Oh Krishna, please get those fruits for us. Our minds are so attracted by their aroma. Dear Balram, our desire to have those fruits is very great. If you think it is a good idea, let's go to that Tal forest. Hearing the words of their dear companions, Krishna and Balram laughed and desiring to please them, set off for Talwan surrounded by their cowherd boyfriends. Lord Balram entered the Tal forest first. Then with his two arms, he began forcefully shaking the trees with the great power of a maddened elephant, causing the Tal fruits fall to the ground. Hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the ass demon Dhenuka ran forward to attack, making the earth and trees tremble. The powerful demon rushed up to Lord Baladeva and sharply struck the Lord's chest with the hooves of his hind legs. Then Dhenuka began to run about, braying loudly. Moving again towards Lord Balram, O King, the furious ass situated himself with his back towards the Lord. Then screaming in rage, the demon hurled his two hind legs at him. Lord Balram seized Dhenuka by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand and threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent, weaving motion killed the demon. Lord Balram threw the dead body of Dhenukasura into the tallest palm tree in the forest, and when the dead demon landed in the tree top, the tree began shaking. The great palm tree, causing a tree by its side also to shake, broke under the weight of the demon. The neighboring tree caused yet another tree to shake, and this one struck yet another tree, which also began shaking. In this way, many trees in the forest shook and broke. Because of Lord Balram's pastimes of throwing the body of the ass demon into the top of the tallest palm tree, all the trees began shaking and striking against one another as if blown about by the powerful wind. My dear Parikshit, that Lord Balram killed Dhenukasura in not such a wonderful thing is not such a wonderful thing, considering that he is the unlimited personality of Godhead, the controller of the entire universe. Indeed, the entire cosmos rests upon him, just as a woven cloth rests upon its own horizontal and vertical threads. The other as demons, close friends of Dhenukasura, were enraged upon seeing his death, and thus they all immediately ran to attack Krishna and Balram. O king, as the demons attacked, Krishna and Balram easily O king, as the demons attacked Krishna and Balram,
Is it okay? Is it okay?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Your room is okay?
Yes, room is fine.
Great.
Everything is good. Thanks to the devotee here.
O king, as the demons attacked Krishna and Balram, easily seized them one after another by their hind legs and threw them into the tops of the palm trees. The earth then appeared beautifully covered with heaps of fruits and with the dead bodies of the demons, which were entangled in the broken tops of the palm trees. Indeed, the earth shone like the sky decorated with clouds. Hearing of this magnificent feat of the two brothers, the demigods and other elevated living beings rained down flowers and offered music and prayers in glorification. People now felt free to return to the forest where Dhenuka had been killed, and without fear they ate the fruits of the palm trees. Also, the cows could now graze freely upon the grass there. Then lotus-eyed Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories are most pious to hear and chant, returned home to Vraja with his elder brother Balram. Along the way, the cowherd boys, his faithful followers, chanted his glories. Lord Krishna's hair, powdered with the dust raised by the cows, was decorated with a peacock feather and forest flowers. The Lord glanced charmingly and smiled beautifully, playing upon his flute while his companions chanted his glories. The gopis all together came forward to meet him, their eyes very eager to see him. With their bee-like eyes, the women of Vrindavan drank the honey of the beautiful face of Lord Mukunda, and thus they gave up the distress they had felt during the day because of separation from him. The young Vrindavan ladies cast sidelong glances at the Lord, glances filled with bashfulness, laughter, and submission. And Sri Krishna, completely accepting these glances as a proper offering of respect, entered the cowherd village. Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, acting most affectionately towards their two sons, offered all the best things to them in response to their every desire and at the various appropriate times. By being bathed and massaged, the two young lords were relieved of the weariness caused by walking on the country roads. Then they were dressed in attractive robes and decorated with transcendental garlands and fragrances. After dining sumptuously on the delicious food given by them by their mothers and being pampered in various ways, the two brothers lay down upon their excellent beds and happily went to sleep in the village of Vraja. O King, the Supreme Lord Krishna thus wandered about the Vrindavan area, performing his pastimes. Once surrounded by his boyfriends, he went without Balram to the Yamuna river. At that time, the cows and cowherd boys were feeling acute distress. Thank you so much.
Can you bring to sick lamp in the middle?
Not yet.
Did you know the man about it? Ladies?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadaine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shiladanganakhalaye Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga Yato Yami Tato Narsinga He Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga Narsinga Madin Saranam Prapade Tava Kara Kamala Bare Nakham Adbhuta Sringar Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuhingam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Narsinga Dev Jaya, Narsinga Dev Jaya, Narsinga Dev Jaya, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Jai.
Nice kursi. Sundar.
वो अंदर ही करना है I'll take this. You can wash this.
Yes.
We'll give to Chaitanya Hari Prabhu to wash all these things. You know, please dry it and wash it. We don't want to wash it. It's a lot of thing to be taken care of. So he will take it. What we can do is that we can take this into Guru Maharaj room.
Okay, fine.
Please take it
Yes, yes.
and fold it and properly put it
Okay.
in a nice place. And then wash this.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Heater will go into Guru Maharaj room.
Should I turn this off?
Yes, Devyani Prabhu, आप जरा closer ले लो, ladies के. And what else is there? It's 1 hour we did by worship. Do you remember? 1 hour did we did 1 hour?